Good day, friend. Ted Ciuba here. Glad to be with you. Hey, occasionally I get the question from sincere people. Now, I'm not talking about the detractors. Those people are a whole different category, all on their own. I'm talking about sincere people who are wondering what quantum physics has to do with my business profits. In other words, that's really just another way of saying what that has to do with the real world. Well, let me tell you, the only reason, the only point is the real world application. There is no point to knowledge unless it is geared into action, unless we can use it to manipulate something or to harness forces and accomplish something that we as humans would like, such as, what does quantum physics have to do with your business profits? Well, the fact that you're watching this over a computer is involved with quantum. The fact that we've got a satellite that just left the solar system has to do with quantum physics. When you pick up your smartphone, a screen that you touch has to do with quantum physics. The revolution is actually 120 years started ago. Niels Bohr, Max Planck, Albert Einstein, you've heard notably the most famous quantum physicist. He didn't start it. He was involved in it was already ongoing. Max Planck is the guy who really did most. But there's others, David Bohm, and, well, I want you to note, surely, of course, today, when you hear this, it may not be today's date. The date that I am recording is Tuesday, October 9th, 2012. What could be more relevant than something happening today? Well, look at this. Scientists win Nobel Prize for quantum physics. Well, cool. Okay, so let's click through and we see what's going on here. And opinion, we'll do that later. How about that? Here we are, Yahoo News. Man, I just went in to check my email today. Nobel for quantum parlor trick. You know how people like to write fancy headlines. You got two people here. Guy Haroche from France. Serge Haroche is the way I'm saying it. American David Wayne, both 68. By the way, used to have to be 38 to get this kind of thing done. And look, they're talking about manipulating the very smallest particles and matters of light. Well, do you know that fiber optics, maybe that has something to do with being relevant and communicating and carrying information? Remember when sound was a difficult file to handle? Now we've got videos, high quality, and it's not even the beginning. We're transmitting and communicating with spacecraft. We landed a ship on Mars not too long ago, safely, securely, in the perfect basin where we sent it to. Communications, wireless, everything. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. How does it relate to your business thing? Look at this. Perform the seemingly magical feat of putting an object in two places at once. Open the door to a new era of experimentation with quantum physics by demonstrating the direct observation of individual quantum particles without destroying them. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine studying live animals without killing them? Without dissecting them? You want to know what the brain looks like. Well, we've progressed. We've got MRIs, CAT scans, and everything. And now we're doing the same thing with, what is quantum physics? Well, listen, it's no more than the building blocks of the universe. You mean that couldn't be relevant? Well, I would say. And so, look, quantum physics opened a new door. This is still an emerging science. Now, it's 120 years old, and it's really a fact that, sorry, if you were wanting to be there to catch the revolution has already happened. That was around the beginning of the 19th century. We wouldn't have had the, God bless our soul, we wouldn't have had the atomic bomb, atom, if we hadn't had quantum physics. Now, we've got much more in front of us so we don't misuse these potentials, and that's your job and my job. But what does it have to do with relevance? Well, I guess some people would call war completely irrelevant, the ultimate business. You and I would never go for that, but there's still things happening. And look at this. This is this Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, which awarded the Nobel Prize. Perhaps the quantum computer will change our everyday lives in this century. This is the 21st century. We're not studying history in the same radical way as the classical computer did in the last century. You see, there's still a lot of people who hadn't caught up with the classical computer, and it's already outmoded in the minds of the advanced thinkers. That's why I say the revolution's already happened. But and this is the way we started this, very often sincere people, how does it apply? Well, it does take a long time for everyday knowledge, awareness, applicability to filter down to, the level, come down from Olympus down to the level of people. That's what we're about. There's a lot of ways it applies. Look, single particles are not easily isolated from their surrounding environment and lose their mysterious quantum properties as soon as they interact with the outside world. Now, hold on. This has been the problem all along. How do you measure spirit, which is essentially what's happening? There's only energy, spirit. How do you measure it? Well, you have to stop it in time. You have to solidify it. But when you do that, you've killed it. You can make the thing. But so that's the whole point. At the bottom, there is only energy. There is nothing else. This E equals mc squared that Einstein wrote, that talks about the equivalence of energy and matter factored by the speed of light squared. And so now, they become material, but that's what it does. They're equivalent. The immaterial realm, the realm of thought and intention, the mysterious quantum properties you can project into materiality. Thoughts are things. That's what they're saying, and true. When they interact with the outside world, they lose their mysterious properties. The fact that you engineered a miraculous turnaround because you had an incredible breakthrough recognition to move on this one new type of marketing conception that revolutionized your business and multiplied your income into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, and you know it can happen. That's what a quantum leap is. A quantum leap is a discontinuous jump to a whole new level. You know the stories. What does that have to do? Well, it all seems very logical when you look at it in reverse. That's what I'm saying. But you don't want to look at it in reverse. Oh, well, I mean, you do. But you want to be able to manipulate. You want to be able to control, look at that word, manipulate, control the very smallest part. You want to be able to control what comes from the spiritual realm into the physical, and that has to do with your inner resonance, where you're coming from. You as the director, manager, owner, entrepreneur of your business are the heart and soul. Everything else is a reflection of you. Why do you think venture capitalists bet on the management team more so than the idea? And these guys, how does it relate? Quantum optics. Quantum optics has to do with light, the fundamental interactions. Now we're still reading from the Yahoo article, man. This is relevant today. Fundamental interactions between light and matter. Look, they used opposite approaches to the same problem. This cannot be. Well, they did. Wineland uses light particles, or photons, to measure and control particles of matter. So he's working from the spiritual realm. Remember, E equals, the equals sign is the transformation in process. That's where the quantum leap happens. He's working from the spiritual side to the physical, and the other guy, Hiroche, this French guy, using electrons, the material, to measure and to impact and to get information on photons, and they're using this information all over the world. Like they said, it's supercomputers. How does this relate? Well, it relates a lot of different ways. So, listen, there's more. There's more. I would bet it could all be summed up on What do you think is a better alternative? Betting on yesterday's old classical technologies that already aren't working so well as they used to? Or do you think that jumping on the cutting edge and moving into creating the emerging world and following science footstep on the edge of the new is a better idea? You decide what's relevant for today. And this is Ted C. Yuba, your friend, saying that's what quantum physics has to do with your business profits.